So now we're back on. No boxing today.
What's up? Happy Thursday.
Yeah, what's up? Happy Thursday. Yeah, that's what should be said. Thursday is our weekend, not Friday, but Thursday. We're going into the football weekend. This is the NFL and college. So we talked a little boxing yesterday. If you watched the show, if you scored along with us, there were some surprises even after all these years. But today,
Not so much in the outcome, but how we came to that
the
conclusion.
scoring. Yeah. I mean, I guess I took it for granted that, he won. We know he won, and I knew that there were people saying that Hagler won. I couldn't see it all these years, but when you're scoring it, we get to a certain point after 8 rounds, and it's tied up. We're like, wait a minute, what's going on here? Something's got to turn and not
Yeah.
make us go to autopilot. But anyway, we're here now.
A lot of
And,
football to get to.
yeah, it's football. A whole lot of football this weekend, man. God, and this is the 60th episode of all time with the Sports Bag Bros podcast. But yeah, today's Thursday. It starts football, even college football. Thursday night football tonight. San Francisco taking on the Giants, and then there's a huge week of college football. And of course, with us being here on Thursday, we can talk about it. We don't know what may happen between even just Friday. So that might happen in practice, like what happened today in Dallas with Trayvon Diggs, ACL in practice, out for the season, one of the premier players on defense in all the NFL. And it goes down like that. So, yeah, Dallas has to make some changes of their own. But before we even get to that, we have college football, a big week in college football, as I just said. And I think the biggest game of them all, even though there are so many other games that are at least high profile, Notre Dame and Ohio State. I think that kind of leads the way. It's a primetime game. It's at Notre Dame. Notre Dame still getting credit when they may or may not deserve it.
Well, they'll certainly earn it or not Saturday, right? If they win and they put up points, the Ohio State's defense got a challenge in front of it. And if they beat Ohio State, well, they stake a claim as one of the top teams in the nation.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this Ohio State team they're still transitioning to the new quarterback. They still have great coaching. They still have the defense. We already know what's going on defensively. And, Tommy Eichenberg, the linebacker leading the team in tackles. He has 14 solo tackles, 20 total tackles. He's a tackling machine. And by the way, even though the offense is still trying to find its sea legs, the defense has been holding it down and on against the run especially. So
Who have they been playing though?
Yeah, I know. I know who they've been playing. Indiana's there. Of course, it's still a conference game. We talked about that
Youngstown
before.
State.
Youngstown State. But you also know that little interstate rivalry, even though a smaller team, they're always a little yappy, a pain in the butt for Ohio State. It's like a little chihuahua. Ohio State's going to beat them, but they might, Youngstown State may get their little pound of flesh on the ankle from time to time. Yeah, they blew them out. But just looking at what the defense has done, they haven't given up a 100-yard game yet, let alone a rusher. So there hasn't been a team that's gone over 100 yards. I think 99 yards was the most they have given up so far this season. But they will be challenged against Notre Dame at Notre Dame. And
Yeah, I mean, if they do that to Notre Dame, well, then we can sing the defense's praises, right?
yeah,
But they have to prove it on Saturday. And I'm not saying they're frauds or fraudulent. I'm just saying they haven't been tested yet.
but
But
as far as
Saturday
Ohio,
they will be tested.
you know what? I think right now the reason why I'm giving them a little more credit probably than some would give them is because Ohio State's been known for this defense, and Ohio State has always had this defense in recent memory. If nothing else has clicked for Ohio State, it's been the defense. When the offense struggled, the defense has been there. Last year when C.J. Stroud was struggling at Northwestern with that ridiculous win, the defense was there. So the defense has been the one constant with Ohio State. So going into a game of this caliber, this whole high-profile game, a lot on the line this early in the season, but it's almost starting to matter as we go into October. I think, whatever they do against Notre Dame, being able to stop the run is going to show whether they are serious or not, because Notre Dame has their own big running game. They have so much going on with that team. Sam Hartman, as we already know, he leads the nation with 13 touchdowns. In fact, he's just one touchdown ahead of Caleb Williams, the reigning Heisman Trophy winner from USC. So Sam Hartman is doing exactly what I expected him to do with even more talent than he's ever had at Wake Forest. He's had success at Wake Forest. He's an elder statesman in college. Now the transfer portal, and for him, the grad portal brings him to Notre Dame, where he has even more weapons and a running back. Audric Estimate, one of the best. I think he is the number one rusher in all of college football this year. But more importantly, with him, his explosiveness. You can look at the teams they played too, but
Hmm.
this explosiveness
That's right.
doesn't come against even bad teams. He's averaging over 8 yards a carry. You're talking about Chuck Weatherspoon averaging about almost 10 yards a carry. We're talking Greg Pruitt from back in the day with Oklahoma,
Yeah.
averaging over 9 yards a carry. He's on that level going into his fifth game of the season.
Yeah, it should be a very interesting game. Notre Dame, they look like their offense is very high powered. You can say their offense hasn't been tested yet. Same goes for Ohio State's defense. And Ohio State's offense, they're still trying to work things out.
Mm-hmm.
But if they can't cover number 18, it's going to be a high scoring game.
You know what? And even just number 18, you're talking about Marvin Harrison Jr. averaging over 21 yards of reception, 21.7 to be specific. He has 3 touchdowns. But Mika Abuka, he's another one that I think that
Mhm.
he's going to be a first rounder. I think they're both going to be first rounders. It's just a matter of who's going to be top two, probably number one overall, which may be Harrison, and then who's going to just get into the first round, which is still just as big an honor. And Ohio State has been pumping him out as of late as far as these wide receivers go. But this Ohio State team, I think they'll have their hands full. Are you surprised Vegas has them as a 3-point favorite on the road at Notre Dame, 7:30 in prime time?
No, because Vegas is all about trying to keep
Balance the
the,
money.
the yeah, keep the money even on both sides. And then if you look at Notre Dame's history, they haven't really performed well in big games against top teams. So you have that also. So no, it's not a surprise at all. But that would be, I mean, on the surface anyway, it appears that it would be a big time victory for Ohio State to go into South Bend and come out with a W.
So absolutely, but I'm going to go the other way against Vegas. Understand about trying to balance the money out and understand that the home field advantage is supposed to be 3 points. So going with that 3 point being an underdog, I guess on a neutral field, they figured it'll be an even game on a neutral field, or actually 6 points in
Right.
favor Ohio State if that were to happen. But Ohio State has their own explosive players, at least offensively. McCord, as he tries to get it together and tries to get that continuity and connection with Marvin Harrison Jr., as we've spoken about before. Those two played together in high school. This is a different story, but we've seen this tandem happen again. Urban Gerback and Desmond Howard. Same thing with Michigan, both playing for St. Joe's. But looking at Travion Henderson, averaging 6.4 yards a carry. I mean, they got something to hang their hat on until that
Mhm.
passing game comes along. I mean, Chip Trainaman, he's also 7 yards a carry. So there's a lot of things going on with that offense that they can probably kind of hold the fort until the passing game can come around, slow the game down. That's probably what Ohio State wants when you have a
Well,
new
something
quarterback.
something else to consider. Most times when teams don't have a big game early in the season, they don't really show much. They keep their offenses basic. They don't open the playbook, so to speak. They don't
Mhm.
want to show they don't want to show that opponent on the horizon too much. They want to keep stuff hidden until game day. So they may have looked like they're struggling, but maybe they're just holding certain plays back, and they're not showing certain looks, and they're going to give Notre Dame everything Saturday.
From what I saw watching Ohio State and seeing how they're trying to get the continuity together, that's what I'm looking at. Because I look at even the base plays that they have. I know they may go out there with that vanilla offense because they're overmatching Youngstown State or even Indiana, a conference foe. But then you see those basic plays weren't still executed. There was still drop passes. There was still overthrown passes. There was time when there was time for McCord to throw the ball, and he threw it, and it was completely errant. So that's what I'm looking at. Now, hopefully they got that back up to speed. So whether that's a basic play or going deep in their playbook, it's still pretty erratic, or it was erratic. It's starting to come together now. And that's what these early so-called easy games are for the bigger teams at least, to get your continuity, get your rhythm. And then when you get into conference play, this is a different year because Indiana was already a conference game. But I'm thinking Ohio State with so much on the line, all eyes on them. They will open the playbook. Does McCord rise to the occasion? We already know what Marvin Harrison can do. But I'm saying with these running backs they have, with these yards per carry averages of 7 yards and 6+ yards, that's phenomenal to be able to hold down the fort and kind of make things easier for the new quarterback.
Right, and that would bode well for Ohio State to play the keep away game.
Mm-hmm.
Win the time of possession game, and keep Notre Dame's high powered offense off the field. If they can do that, then that's their way to victory.
Yeah,
Uh,
but
Limiting Notre Dame's opportunities, not turning the ball over, and if they're able to run the ball consistently, they're going to wear down that defense, and it will just get easier later on in the game.
But as well as Notre Dame has been running the ball themselves, they can also slow down the clock. And that
True.
home field advantage does matter a little bit. Offensive line wise, we already know about Ohio State every year. Whether you know the names before the season, you'll eventually find the names out towards, during the season or towards the end of the season with their offensive line. The defense, as I said right now, playing very well. But Joe Alt is one of those offensive linemen at Notre Dame who is their number one guy. And I believe he may also be a first round draft pick, like his father, John, who played for Iowa back in 1984, first round draft pick for the Chiefs. So Notre Dame's been known for their offensive line, too. I've always thought the deciding factor with them in recent memory has been that quarterback position. We've seen the Brady Quinns, we've seen the Clausens, and not looking that great as they were supposed to have looked, and taking Notre Dame to that next level. Now, Sam Hartman, in my opinion, I've said it already, he's probably the best of them all in a long time for Notre Dame. But yeah, that's going to be an exciting game to watch when these two finally get it together. That's the highlight game of the day,
So,
but not the only game of interest because
wait. Who's your pick?
I'm taking Notre Dame. They're
Oh,
three
okay.
point, yeah,
We're
they're
on the
3 point
same.
underdogs.
I'm taking Notre Dame also.
Oh, because I'm wondering. That's why I was wondering why they're a 3 point underdog. I don't know. I think I've seen enough of Notre Dame. I've seen enough of Sam Hartman, not just at Notre Dame, but when he was at Wake Forest and going against that Clemson defense or that trying to be rejuvenated Florida State defense. 3-0 against Florida State going into this season. Well, before he left to go to Notre Dame, so he has experience against decent defenses, and in Clemson's case, very good defenses had his success, and he brings it to Notre Dame, and so far so good. No interceptions, but we see the competition. 13 touchdowns, leading the nation. An extra game, obviously. They played Navy over in Ireland before the season started, but a tough game expected. Reasonably low scoring, I believe. I would say take the under, but I don't even know what the over under is. But this is going to be a nice, solid game. I think that we're going to get the chance to see stars are going to come from this game. And I think whoever wins this game is really going to pronounce themselves, in my opinion, as someone who contends with Georgia and now Michigan, because I think obviously those are 1 and 2. In my opinion, I think that Michigan could be number one. But either way, 1 and 2 with those guys. Texas is in the mix, but Texas got there because of what happened against Alabama. Now we're seeing that Alabama may not be exactly what we thought they were, but we'll find out. And as I already mentioned, we're going to see other games. And that other game is going to be Colorado. I don't think this is a game that shows whether they're fool's gold or not. I think this is just a game that's going to show that, you know what, they weren't going to go undefeated. Last week I said they started 2-game losing streak with Oregon on the road. Next week at home against USC. I think it begins.
Could be, but until they actually lose, you got to ride that train, man.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking about their 21-point dogs Saturday. Where's the respect for Coach Prime and the Buffaloes? It seems like every week something happens to give Colorado some bulletin board material or just something to hang their hat on to give more motivation. And being 21-point dogs after the wave they've played, you see the offense can go up and down the field pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty much Vegas is saying they're going to lose 61-30.
Well, you know what?
I mean 51 to 30.
That's one thing I do like about Vegas. They don't care about people's feelings. They just want the money to flow, but they throw a number out there for that money to flow. And they were wrong. And and Vegas doesn't get it right all the time. We obviously know that.
Right.
And they didn't get it right the first time with TCU, but in the first game of the season, it's very difficult to figure things out. You're just trying your best, even as a bookmaker, trying your best to kind of throw a number out there that the crowd is going to jump on, the public is going to jump on. And then we still think about these things as they go along with TCU, how fewer than 19% of their production on offense returned from last year's team, including their quarterback, Max Duggan, who went to the NFL, obviously been cut since then. But we don't configure that when they go into these first games. We didn't know what to think about Deion Sanders, sight unseen, all of these transfers, what was going to happen there. Now we're 3 games deep. We have an idea that run defense is still one of the worst in all of college football. Last week, even in a game they should not have struggled against, regardless of being an in-state rivalry or not, against Colorado State, a team that cannot run the football, still ran for 102 yards on them. Before that, Nebraska, 222 yards on them. Before that, TCU, 262 on them. And we saw the Nebraska game. You could call it a blowout depending on what side of the aisle you're on, but they still got their 222 yards on the ground against this team. And when you look at a team like Oregon, they can run the freaking ball. And as a true Pac-12 team, that West Coast team can also pass the ball. And the guy doing it is Bo Nix, who came from Auburn. Now he's been with Oregon the past 2 seasons. He can throw and he can run. And their stable of running backs is outstanding. I mean, last year they won 49-10, so we could say something like that. But once again, this isn't even the same Colorado team, so that's a frivolous, worthless stat.
The only thing they share is the uniform.
The what?
The uniform. That's the only thing
Yeah.
this year's team shares with last year's team.
And they probably changed that for all I know, because I didn't
Yeah.
watch any Colorado games. Who did? We saw how empty it was.
Okay,
last
the name on the uniform, the logo on the uniform.
Yeah, the logo, that's about it. But when you talk about a team like Oregon who can put up the numbers, they've always been known for putting up the numbers. Even the losing efforts, they still try to put up the numbers. And Bucky Irvin, one of their running backs, averaging 8 yards a carry, 3 touchdowns on the season. Jordan James, 7.4 yards a carry. He had 5 touchdowns on the season. And Noah Whittingham, 8.4 yards a carry. We talking about this is their specialty, being able to run. And then they pop you one of those long passes. And if you have a team that's giving up all of those yards on the ground against this kind of inferior teams that we've watched them play so far, it's going to be murder. I can see that 21 points getting covered, man. I can actually see that.
I can't. I
don't want to see it because I've been supporting Coach Prime. He's grown.
I just don't see it. Oregon may win handily, maybe by 17, maybe, but I just don't see 3 touchdowns.
Well, Eugene is a hard place to play, and it's going to be a night game, I believe, and we already know how that goes. Other than the bad-looking uniforms that Oregon wears with that green and whatever else they decide to throw together to make it match, I think that this is the game in which.
Yeah, I don't think that comes into play with Deion, man. He seems to get his team to ignore all that bogus crap. It's hard to play there, man. We're the Colorado Buffaloes. We're coming in there. I don't care how many people in the crowd. I don't care what they chant, what they call us. You know what I'm saying? And he gets it in their head. It don't matter. So it may be a tough place to play for most teams. I don't think it matters for Colorado because of Coach Prime, his swagger, his confidence, and the way he instills his feelings into his team.
See, I have nothing else to say about Colorado if they win this game. I'm done for the season. Forget that game. I told you we're going to lose the following week against USC. I'll be back on the Colorado bandwagon if they win this game against Oregon in Eugene. I'll be on the bandwagon next week saying, you know what, Colorado's going to blow out USC as well when they come over to Boulder. I'm serious because this would be nothing short of a miracle.
I'm not even saying they're going to win. I honestly don't know. Just because I don't want to doubt. I don't want to keep doubting them, but
I haven't doubted.
But I kind of do expect Oregon to win, but I won't be surprised if Colorado wins.
No, this is one of those times where you can say I wouldn't be surprised, but to me, I would be shocked if they won. And I think they're going to get blown out. I don't want them to, as I've already said. I think they're going to get blown out. Oregon is that good, and I think Colorado's not that bad. It's just that it's not fool's gold either. But I think that Eugene, Oregon, and the University of Oregon, they're really going to make a point here. I remember they did have that close game against Texas Tech already, but it was in Lubbock. And you know how those home games, especially in college with all the emotions, we watched just an emotional game this past Saturday with Colorado State and Colorado. And we saw how passionate they were when they played Nebraska, in their first home game with Dion there. But going up to Oregon, and Oregon really wanted to make Oregon knows, it's like Oregon is like a lot of the other people who are now hating on Deion Sanders. They want to prove that this guy's a fraud. Not because he's a fraud, but because they want to just be the ones to dominate them, to stop the winning streak. And, so they can have some. These are kids, 18, 19, 20, 21 years old.
Take the 21.
They want that feather in their cap.
Take the 21, man. Take the 21.
Whew. Well, I'm going to take the 21. Come on. Well, yeah, it's not going to be one of my best bets, but that's something I can see happen. And I'm hoping it doesn't go down like that. I can obviously see the loss for Colorado, but I think that Oregon's really going to put it on them. I think they're going to score in consecutive drives. I think that's going to happen. And by the way, let's not forget how much Travis Hunter meant to that team. You need multiple guys to take over for him. Travis Hunter won't be there for the lob passes at wide receiver. He won't be there on special teams because he's a dynamic player there. And as a corner, he won't be there. Xavier Weaver, he's the number 4 wide receiver production-wise in all of college football right now. Now he's going to get double teamed. And unless somebody else steps up, which against Oregon, where you can match them athlete for athlete, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think they'll be able to do it, but we'll just have to wait and see on that one.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sold on Shedeur Sanders, man. As long as he doesn't get the big head, he's already getting scolded by Tom Brady. Get your ass in the film room. Get your ass out of that Rolls Royce. Yeah. Get your ass in the film room. He's got one of the best of all time, arguably the best of all time, mentoring him. He's got his dad there, who's the coach. I don't think he's going to lose focus. I mean, what kid isn't going to want to drive a Rolls Royce, But that doesn't mean that he's not all about football either. He just drove a Rolls Royce. It's not like he got pulled over in the middle of the night like Mike Tyson going 180 miles down the highway. He just has a Rolls Royce. He didn't get into trouble with it. He just has a Rolls Royce. That doesn't mean he's not doing what he's supposed to do in the film room, on the practice field, and in the classroom even.
I think that's much ado about nothing. This is just a product or a byproduct of social media. Everybody in your business, whether you want them to be or not. And Deion Sanders, his name is already going to bring that type of attention. And, of course, with everybody out there not wanting them to win and looking for every instance for them to lose, and they'll just be sitting there with bated breath for a 4th week now, waiting for it to happen. I'm just thinking this time that he's going to have his problems on the road. It's just natural, in my opinion. I've watched him play since he's played at Jackson State, and I've seen him get flustered. And I saw him last December. He got flustered in the Celebration Bowl, and so and I've seen it. The bad stats. I saw him play well against other teams, but when South Carolina State came into the Celebration Bowl, he didn't look good at all, progression-wise or dealing with pressure, all that stuff. Yes, it wasn't him alone. He didn't have the receivers he has now, but I'm just saying that the grade of team he's going against, which is Oregon, is that much better than who they are individually. It's arguable to say that they man for man against Nebraska, they probably had more talent overall, man for man. The issue was the cohesion that they should have as a team and the chemistry as a team.
Bad quarterback, that was the issue.
And then that bad quarterback. Well, yeah, that's a terrible quarterback as well. But man for man, if you dumped in pass, the defense played a hell of a game. But man for man, as far as the athletes on offense, we saw what we saw. But I'm just thinking with Oregon, I think at every position I'm not going to say debatable at quarterback, only because Bo Nix has done it in the SEC. Now he's in the Pac-12, and he's not the quarterback, at least visibly, of what Shedeur is, and he's not getting the attention. But I've seen enough of Bo Nix to know that he's serious and that he's going to be a draft pick as well. Not a first rounder like Shedeur possibly may be.
All I'm saying is that week 1 was supposed to be oh, we're going to shut down all this Dion talk. It's going to come to an end. TCU's going to beat them, and he's going to go away. That didn't happen. And it seems like that's what people are thinking again. This is the week the train comes to a screeching halt. And I'm just saying, until it comes to a screeching halt,
Ride it.
don't doubt him, man. Do not doubt him.
But
That's all I'm saying.
that first game is always something you really can't say anything about unless it's one of those big teams playing against us really small Division One AA teams, just to get their feet under them and get something going. This type of game that they played, looking for Dion to lose his first game, they were still looking at the TCU team that played in the national championship game. And if you're looking at that team, this was even worse than that team that lost 65-7 in the national championship game, setting a record for losing. And so they didn't even have that production. They had less than that in that game. And so was it a surprise that they won? I mean, I was a bit surprised, but I wouldn't have known that the production that had left. I was like, you know what? They should keep making a game. They ended up winning, so I can say, okay, that's cool. Now, the Nebraska game, we saw how Nebraska played the previous week offensively. We knew the defense was going to give them every chance. The offense is what blew it. Now, this game against Colorado State was the other way around. We thought there was going to be a blowout. Take the over. Yeah, you could have done that, but it was no blowout. 2 overtimes to get rid of this team? I think that's where the problem lies. In Oregon, there's going to be a bigger problem. Yeah, I don't want to jump off the bandwagon. I'm going to skip off for right now. If they win, back on next week. But right now, not a fan with a fan. But I'm just, no one said they were going undefeated this year. So even if those are the only,
I'm on record as saying they're not going undefeated. But I don't. What?
Oh no, I was like, huh? You don't think that?
No, I'm on record as saying they are not going undefeated. I said that.
Yeah.
I think last week sometime. But I'm just saying. As long as that train's rolling, man, until it comes to a screeching halt, don't doubt them too much.
Well, I'm just going to doubt them.
I mean, if you want to make them 10-point underdogs, okay, I can see that. But 21-3 touchdowns, man, that's like total disrespect. That's a slap in the face.
I think that's given the respect Oregon deserves because they typically don't get that kind of respect when they're playing.
Yeah, but I mean, they're Oregon with they're ranked 14th. It's not like they're ranked number 2 or number 3.
But we also know this time of year the rankings don't mean a doggone thing because the rankings don't mean anything right about this time in October or later in October when we've got a chance to have a better sample size of how good teams really are. Even Georgia right now, are they really a number 1 team? I still would take Michigan over them right now, and I like Georgia. But that's not what it is. These rankings put them there because, well, they're acting like boxing. In order to be the champ, you got to beat the champ. Well, these aren't even the champs. They're the defending champs. But, yeah, but if Colorado doesn't do anything at all, what they can do is bring Warren Sapp on to help teach that defensive line. They're having problems on the defense anyway. They can't stop the run. Warren Sapp wants to be on Coach Prime's payroll. He wants to be a coach there.
What's up with all these Miami boys?
That's the thing that's killing. It's a Florida boy thing. Let me tell you something. Miami, the U, all of that, and they talk about it ad nauseum. I mean, whether it's Warren Sapp or other people from the U or Michael Irvin, the old school U guy, it's all about being a Florida boy. From Fort Lauderdale with Michael Irvin, or even just Deion Sanders from Fort Myers.
Well, why not Derek Brooks or somebody?
But Derek Brooks hasn't come in yet. Maybe if he wanted to get down.
Somebody from his alma mater.
That's probably true too. Well, his alma mater, he's not even claiming that Florida State anymore these days.
Well, that's true, but I'm saying all these guys from the U, like, hey, I'm down with Coach Deion.
They're gonna go anywhere they swag.
Can't be down. Where's the Seminoles?
Yeah, but they're gonna go that's true. But they're going to go anywhere they're swag, and you already know what Warren Sapp brings to the table running his mouth, but he does know football as well. You don't do as well as he had done being an undersized guy in terms of being short and not having some intelligence to the game. And then you hear him on the outside when he's speaking sense. He has intelligence there too. Then he goes to nonsense and things kind of go down the tube. But for him to become a coach there, he hasn't got his degree yet. He has to take care of his degree. So he has to go back to school, get his degree in order to get the job. I mean, that's cool that he's willing to go ahead and do that, even though he had the opportunity to do that even while he was at UM. or during the season, take correspondence courses or whatever, so that this opportunity can come to you and you can jump on it right away. But nevertheless, he's still going to get his education and do what's necessary to become a coach. And Prime already said, he's going to be a coach in our staff one day. Well, I guess that one day is coming soon. I don't know how far off Sap may be from that degree, but I guess as soon as he gets that degree, it looks like things are seriously popping in Colorado to where Dion can call a shot. He'll be there.
So good luck to Warren Sapp. Get that degree, dude.
Yeah, get that degree and become a I would like to see him down in Miami, of course. But he's a Hall of Fame defensive lineman. He says I can teach those boys how to be dogs out there, and I believe every word Warren Sapp says. This guy, he should have been a preacher the way he talks. You can see him. But Jason Taylor, another Hall of Famer, but from Akron, he's down in Miami right now teaching the defensive line. So we have a Hall of Famer down there already. We don't need two. But anyway, but Warren Sapp, that'll be some good stuff if he could get together with Prime. Imagine these two in an important game at the press conference. Forget about it. I mean, you wouldn't even need the opposing team's coach. Just have Prime and Sapp just run their mouth. So continuing on with college football going on this week, well, we have Florida State taking on Clemson after last week's near miss with Florida State going to Boston College at Chestnut Hill. It took Boston College 18 penalties, or Florida State 18 penalties by Boston College, including a face mask penalty that gave them an opportunity with about a minute and a half left, and they milked the clock to not lose that game, because Florida State was about to lose. Well, they're playing Clemson, who has already lost their first game to Duke and still hasn't gotten respect yet. So what do you think? Going to Clemson, FSU, a nice ACC battle.
Yeah, I need this dub, man. I need this dub.
We need the dub. We need the dub. We're going to the game on November 11th between Miami and Florida State. And the more undefeated, the better, because Miami's taking on Temple this week. I'm not going to call that a guarantee because Miami can stump its toe. I hope those old habits went away. But yeah, this Florida State team.
Yeah, hopefully Boston College was just a speed bump. No team is going to play their best every week. Maybe they were looking ahead to Clemson.
I've heard that said.
Hopefully, anyway, fingers crossed, right?
I heard that during the broadcast. Maybe because the way they were playing, they were up. I was at 31 to like 14 at one point, I believe. And so they show that they are the superior team.
Yeah, and they took the foot off the gas.
They took their foot off the gas, and Boston College has some things going on to where things just started clicking. Castellanos, the quarterback, bro, that dude could play some football. Pass it, don't, bro.
Yeah, I think, maybe LSU wasn't what most people thought they were, but Florida State handled them really well. Mm-hmm. And if Clemson was looking ahead, if they did take their foot off the gas, they should be able to go in there to Death Valley and come out with a W.
Wow, Dabo Swinney, man, I still give him credit for being one of the better coaches in college football. Obviously, a top 5 coach, not just for his accomplishments, but his game day. Look, his quarterback last year, that is at Oregon State now. I forgot his name. God, man, I can't believe this. But anyway, he was a big reason for the losses, man. And I think that Swinney really gave him more opportunity than he deserved. But now things are different, and it looks like Clemson kind of got things back. But we don't know that until they play Florida State. And this is a high caliber game that those two are going to play. And I think I want to take Florida State, but Clemson's at home. And I've seen it before. But I'm taking Florida State anyway because we need it. So that's why we're going to take Florida State. So yeah, Florida State taking on Clemson tomorrow. Big ACC clash in Death Valley. And
Florida State and Clemson have had some classic battles over the years, absolutely. Man. I remember watching that game with the punt fake that Leroy Butler ran almost to the house. And I was going for Clemson that game. I was like, yeah, hopefully they take this punt and they can go down, drive, and score. There was no punt, man. Bobby Bowden reached into his bag of tricks, and he sealed that victory.
The fumble Rooski, I think it was?
It wasn't quite a fumble Rooski, but it was an end-around type thing. But it was the right move at the right time. Clemson never expected it. And like I said, he pulled out that victory when it looked like they were giving the ball up and Clemson had momentum, and they had every opportunity to go down, take the score, take the lead, and get the W. But it was all for naught.
And remember the Bobby Bowden versus Tommy Bowden days, Florida State, Clemson. That was a thing that was going on too. The Bowden battle, the battle of the
Yep.
Bowdens, father and son going at it. I typically don't like the name drop, but I do remember because it's an intimate memory. I'm not a Florida State fan, but I really don't mind them. I'm one of those Canes fans that really don't mind Florida State until they play them. That's about it. But I was actually having lunch one time at ACC Media Day in Greensboro, Georgia. I forgot what year it was, 2003, 2004, one of those years. And I was having at the table with Bobby Bowden, Chuck Amato, Brad Scott, Tommy Bowden. Come on, man. Eat a lunch with these guys. You can just sit there and stare. You don't even have to eat. You just eat with your eyes, man. Like legendary. Now to look back on it, man, I was like, man, the things that we had a chance to do in life, man, and this is one of them. But actually, the highlight of that entire ACC Media Day was a guy named Alexander Wade, who was a fullback for Duke. He and I were talking about the stock market, not even football. Now he's a doctor today. He's a doctor today. But anyways, moving on, a little personal stories getting in the way. Well, Alabama, as we already know from last week, struggled with South Florida, struggled big time. The quarterback situation seems to be pretty bad, but even worse, the big offensive line that gets all of that credit for being big but not good, giving up sacks, not being able to run block the way they should with that size. Well, they had a team meeting. What does that do going into a game against Ole Miss with Lane Kiffin coming into the house?
There have been a lot of team meetings over the year. You could say they're overrated, they're underrated. It just depends on the outcome, right? Some have worked wonders and others haven't done jack shit.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it just depends how these players respond to it. You can't say of 100%, oh, players only team meeting, that always works, because it hasn't. Mm-hmm. So it just remains to be seen. Is the team meeting going to fix their quarterback issues? Is it going to fix their blocking issues?
I don't know. The meeting's theme was togetherness. Well, if you ever needed togetherness, that offensive line needs some togetherness. That's the unit that has to work in unison to make this thing work. Now, it's Jalen Moreau who's been given the quarterbacking job for this game, and I think maybe the rest of the season. Is he going to be able to function even when he has blocking? We've seen enough of him last year when he had blocking. He wasn't anything special. He was still that running guy who happened to pass the ball on occasion. And as I always say, you can't halfback option your way to a championship, let alone a regular win. And that's what he's been doing. Now, if he has everything clicking tomorrow, we do know what Lane Kiffin brings to the table. Offense and more offense. The defense hasn't been that spectacular either.
Yeah, who do they play Saturday?
Ole Miss.
They should handle Ole Miss, but you never know. I mean,
they should handle South Florida.
Yeah, they struggled against South Florida, but pretty much the second half they dominated. So it seems like they righted the ship. But if it wasn't for the lightning strike, who knows if they would have been able to.
Nick Saban praying, coming from above, the Greek god throwing down some lightning on that one.
Man, Saban pulled the switch. You know that.
Well, you know what? I heard stories
the lightning switch in the corner of the stadium. He's like, yeah, pull that switch.
I heard a story years ago in baseball with Cal Ripken Jr. with some issue with Kevin Costner and his wife, and they claimed that time that the lights allegedly had gone out in Baltimore and Cal Ripken wasn't going to play, and they canceled the game for that day. There was a story out about that was on the radio years ago that Kevin Costner and Cal Ripken's wife had some thing going on, and Cal didn't play. So in order not to ruin his playing streak record, the lights went out in Camden Yards, and they skipped the game for that day. You know what I mean? But he came back for the next game. Just a little arbitrary story to throw out there, but it's a story that was said. It was mentioned, and Kevin Costner came on the sports show. I'll put up 50,000 or whatever it was, and you bring your 50,000, and we'll prove this. Blah blah blah. Anyway, let's keep up with this football because it's the last college football thing we'll talk about, and I'm paying a little homage to Buddy Stevens, the former head coach of Yale, who also coached Tulane when Sean King was there and they went undefeated. Sean King ended up going to the Tampa Bay Bucks, going to the championship game, NFC championship game and losing. Buddy Stevens ultimately went to Stanford. He played at Yale years ago, but he ended up at Stanford and had a solid year, solid tenure there. But he went back to his home team at Yale, was there for quite some time. He got into an accident here in Florida, just south of Jacksonville, St. Augustine, got hit by a car back in March, had his leg amputated. He passed away. So he passed away. He was one that was known for bringing those robots and blocking dummies in from years ago. He's the one who started it up. Smart guy, obviously a Yale grad, played for Yale, ended up coaching at his alma mater. But Buddy Tevens is somebody I've always thought about, especially the days when I was a recruiting advisor for some players. In a roundabout way, I dealt with Buddy Tevens through his offensive coordinator, Bill Sanford. Bill, if you're out there, you know who I am. You probably don't like me, but you know who I am. But anyways, but I thought we'd just shout out Buddy Tevens because a great coach and by all accords, a great guy. And so Buddy Tevens will be missed. And that brings us to what's going on tonight. The third week of the NFL season beginning tonight. The Giants taking on the 49ers. I don't think injuries or no injuries, the Giants will win it. Now they have injuries. Saquon Barkley's not playing. Well, Daniel Jones is still there, so they're still not winning.
Yeah, they pulled out a miracle last week, but I mean, talk about a tough schedule. Week 1 you got to go against Dallas's defense.
Mm-hmm.
Week 3 now you're going against San Francisco's defense, and Bosa's probably got his legs under him even more so than he did last week and the week before, considering his holdout. And I mean, Daniel Jones, he's athletic, but is he going to be running for his life?
Yeah, and that offensive line have not blocked well. And as we said, he came from, as you just said, they came from behind against the Arizona Cardinals. Is that a big deal? Because they were on the clock before the season started. That's what we started the season with. The Arizona Cardinals are
not so fast, as Lee Corso would say. Not so fast. Chicago
friend.
Bears might have something to say about that.
Yeah, well, we got some things going on with that. We might as well talk about it right now. You're up in Chicagoland. What's going on? I know you sent me a message today. You're thinking that your boy Justin Fields is trying to get out of there. He's made
sometimes people say things and they're being kind of cryptic, or you're thinking, why would they say that? I think Justin wants out of Chicago, man, and I don't blame him. I'd want out of Chicago too. I mean, that's my team, and I don't even want to watch them at this point right now, man. They're terrible. They ran the same screenplay 3 times in a row. Who does that? Kids playing Madden don't even run the same 3 plays in a row. I mean, what are they doing in there? Your defensive coordinator resigns a week and a half or 2.5 weeks into the season. I mean, it's a mess, man. Ryan Poles, he seems intelligent. He seems like he has a plan. Seems like he knows what he's doing. But then why do we hire these coaches? People are high on Luke Getsy. Oh, because he worked with Aaron Rodgers. I can work with Aaron Rodgers and look good. You know what I'm saying? If I never called the plays, if I wasn't the OC, I'm not qualified to be the OC. Just because I was the passing game coordinator. What's he telling Aaron Rodgers? Nice throw, Aaron. Good job. The way you looked off the safety there. Nice job. Keep it up, buddy. I mean, come on. I could do that. You can do that. Anybody watching and listening can do that. That doesn't make him qualified to be the offensive coordinator. Man. So I just question Ryan Poles and his coaching hires. Eberflus, okay, let's give him a chance. But the coordinators, you got a first-time coach, and you don't get experienced coordinators. The offensive coordinator never called plays before, was never an OC, and you have Justin Fields, who you're trying to develop. The kid's not getting no development, man. He's not getting no coaching. And then now he's saying that they give him the play, and then they're giving him more information. Watch for the safety. Watch for this. So he's not just running the play and playing naturally. He's thinking, oh, I gotta watch for the safety. I gotta watch for this. Oh, that dude's open. Oh, too late. And so I don't blame him, and I think he does want to leave Chicago. I don't blame him. I have no shade to throw his way. Good luck to you, Justin.
You're up there, so I didn't know that part of it. I didn't know that they gave him a play and then telling him to watch the safety, because I never heard another quarterback say that same thing. It kind of could be a bit degrading if he took it that way, because they give you a play that you've practiced in practice and you kind of know, you've been in the film room and all of that, and quarterback rooms and with the quarterbacks and your coordinator and your quarterback's coach, and you supposedly know these things. So now they got to remind you on game day, watch out for that guy. What other quarterback has to go through that? Watch out for that safety. Watch out for this blitzing guy. It makes it seem like they don't think you're smart enough to play the position. They're giving you information, and then they kind of compounding it with more information that you probably should have known with the repetitions in practice.
Yeah, so I think that's what he was alluding to, saying that it could be coaching. Maybe should have said, I think I'm being overcoached right now, and then
Mm-hmm.
give a specific example. But he didn't want to go that much into it. Um, but I was thinking when I heard those comments, he's saying he's too robotic. You know, he's criticizing himself. So I'm like, good. Well, maybe he just goes out there and says, "Fuck it,"
Just
and
throw
let's
it.
see what happens. Roll the dice. Let's go out there, man. Let's just go.
Now,
And
do you think this is an instance of the if he leaves, do you think it's because the Bears ruined another quarterback, or do you think he would do well somewhere else?
I think he's still young enough and talented enough to do well in another system.
Well,
Like
because
if the Bears go 2-15 this year, and they're like, well, Justin's obviously not the answer. We have a top 5 pick. Who are we picking? Justin's gone, right? He may get signed as a backup, but depending on the situation, if he's backing up somebody, let's say like
Lamar Jackson.
Lamar Jackson, yeah, that'd be perfect. But or even Josh Allen. Josh Allen goes down, but he's learning under that system, you know, picking things up from a better coaching staff, from a better quarterback mentoring him, and then he gets an opportunity. I'm sure he'll do much better. I'm not saying he's going to be top 5 quarterback, but he'll be better than what he is now.
Yeah, because the Bears are, I don't know, they aren't helping him along more. I can't really tell
The
if
thing with Trubisky, he didn't have problems throwing the ball. It's just his balls were errant a lot of times. Guy open, five overthrown by 5 yards. Throwing the flat behind the guy where he's got to reach back here and catch it. By the time he turns around, he's getting tackled already. You know, things of that nature. But the crazy thing about Mitch, he played like dog shit for 3.5 quarters, and then in the fourth quarter, he
that's
would
the
drop a
comeback.
dime down the sideline, drop a dime, hit the guy in the seam. Like, well, why can't we do that all game? You know, and Bears fans would be like, "See, Mitch is a good quarterback. Mitch is a good quarterback." I'm like, no, not if we're constantly coming from 10 points down in the fourth quarter. He's not a good quarterback. You can't play well for half a quarter and play like dog shit for 3.5 quarters and be called a good quarterback.
Well, yeah, and I remember him coming out of North Carolina. I thought he was a solid quarterback, but the Jets were angling in on him, and I was glad they didn't get him. Not that I had anything really against him. I just know the Jets' tendencies. And when you're talking about errant passes, that's a lot of what Mark Sanchez did, a lot of the same thing. He just happened to have a hell of a defense backing him up, and he had some pretty damn good weapons to throw to with Antonio Holmes and you know and Curtis Martin in the backfield, even Leon Washington at one point. But anyways, actually, Leon, I think he might have left before, but before that. But anyways, but he had some good weapons on the team. But nevertheless, I think that Justin Fields has some ability, and it all depends on the team he goes to and what they want to do with him. I think he may be able to do well down in somewhere like New Orleans. Jameis Winston's already there, but I think he brings more of an element of that being able to run and still learn the game down in New
The
Orleans.
Jets need a quarterback.
Yo, bro. Bro, the Jets need a quarterback because we're about to listen to how it goes when our boy Zach Wilson drops back,
Our boy.
the show's mascot. Yeah, that's a Zach Wilson sighting right there. He drops back, get that truck going. Yeah, the garbage truck is back and going back and dropping back and throwing 3 picks again. I can't even say I'm disappointed
That's
because I
not
think,
our boy though. That's not my boy.
well, yeah, I guess he's the show's boy because he's a mascot.
Half the show's boy.
Oh my God, it's unbelievable. Zach freaking Wilson. Uh, anyway, my mom used to say from sugar to blank, and that's exactly what this has gone from. And now we're going on to some of these NFL games. We talked about the injuries. Now we talked about the Bears, and how about what's going on with Bryce Young? He may be out, but he will be out this week against the Seahawks. He has a bad ankle, so I mean, well, he did get injured, but I don't think it's that big an issue for him. He's going to continue to improve. You know, even after the ankle injury. This is a mulligan year for Carolina. Period.
Yeah.
First pick overall, you knew what you were getting, an undersized guy, arm strength, all that thing he was worried about. I think he played solidly. I think he was okay up until the injury, and I think he'll continue to improve. He seems to be a cerebral quarterback. He's always a pass first quarterback, keeps his eyes down the field, still can buy himself time with his legs. Right
Mhm.
now, he won't because he has a bad wheel with the bad ankle. But yeah, being out for this game here, yeah, let's get this guy healthy. This is your biggest investment. Let him
So
sit for a few weeks.
right. So after being thrown into the fire, a week or two with the visor and the clipboard, he may see things that he wasn't able to see in the flow of the game,
Mm-hmm.
and when he can think, all right, when I'm healthy, now I can do this or now I can do that. So a couple weeks with the visor and clipboard, I don't think is going to
It's not going
be
to hurt
too
him.
bad. It could be to his benefit.
Yeah, I think so too. And and he's a likable guy. I never disliked Bryce Young. And in college, I thought he was going to be an overrated quarterback because I was like, you know what? California quarterbacks coming out of high school, I always give them more of the benefit of the doubt than I would give quarterbacks that aren't from California because their offenses are so sophisticated in high school football in California. These guys are college ready. But I thought going to Nick Saban's team, he wasn't Tua. I didn't think he was going to be like a Tua kind of player. So even Jalen Hurts, this guy made a lie out of me. He didn't win a championship, but he went higher in the draft than any one of those guys. But anyways, things are looking up for him. Even though he's injured right now, I think he has nothing but green pasture ahead of him, whether it's artificial turf or next turf or we'll call it field turf or whatever it is. He has that in front of him. And
I
somebody,
think I think
yeah,
Tua getting injured really affected his draft status though.
yeah, the injuries, and then he comes to the NFL and he's getting injured again. Yeah, but I think that was an issue too. That bone bruise he had from the one of the injuries, he was always getting injured. I mean, I don't know what the deal was with him. Drink more milk. I don't know.
Honestly, I'm surprised he has recovered to play this well. Didn't he have a dislocated hip?
I think,
I mean,
yeah, in college,
yeah. I
yeah,
mean, I didn't think that was something he'd be able to recover from
or
and
bruised,
play.
or seriously bruised, yeah.
Yeah,
But
play this well. I mean, he's performing as one of the top quarterbacks in the league right now.
oh, absolutely. And I'm glad he is, man, because he's another one of those likable guys. You don't have to like his team either at Alabama or even the Miami Dolphins to look at him and hope that he does well. You just don't do well against my team twice a year, that kind of thing. But the way things are looking, oh, well, whatever. That's how it goes. Well, how about the Philadelphia Eagles? A.J. Brown getting at it with Jalen Hurts. They had a little confrontation on the sidelines. AJ Brown saying there's no beef there. We just kind of communicating. We just, no big deal. We've seen those kind of things before. We've seen it one time with Donovan McNabb and Terrell Owens. They went back and forth, but then we find out after the fact that they didn't like each other anyway from jump.
Well, I mean, any situation involving To, that's different than most others.
Yeah.
But as you mentioned, players get into it all the time. It's in the heat of battle. Somebody says something, maybe not intended the way it's taken by the other, and the other one replies in kind, and it blows up. But then afterwards, after the game, neither one is hyped up anymore. They talk and they iron it out, and I'm sure they are cool.
Yeah, and Jalen Hurts, he didn't scream back, but he stood his ground. He didn't make it a shouting match where you saw two guys just going back and forth. He just said his piece and kind of kept it calm. And Brown was getting at it, you know what I mean? But he didn't go back and forth because some dudes know that the camera's on them, and the camera's on you. Coach has to come pretty much and let y'all know that you need to stop this, and that's how it was just settled right there. But the bottom line is Jalen Hurts just comes across as another one of those cool, collected guys. He didn't lose his head. He could have gone back and forth, but it looks like it's settled now, and they're still undefeated. And just move on. I hate when it starts looking like a team is winning games, but then you have a player who's still upset. Bro, the object I understand too is almost a politically correct thing to say. We just want to win games, but your stats matter to you because now with those paychecks being what they are, those stats are going to be the reason why you get a bigger paycheck. But they're winning right now, and you're still having this kind of argument because I was open, he wasn't throwing it to me. Man, we have so many more games to go. Stop,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, I don't think it's that big of a deal. If it happens every week, then there's a problem because they're not getting along. Um, but it didn't get physical. There's no shoving, no
Nah,
pushing, no Draymond Green knocking out Jordan Poole.
this guy.
So I don't think it's a big deal.
Yeah. So yeah, I just talked about that because I think that AJ Brown came out and specifically said there was no beef, and he finally said something about it.
Yeah,
Be a
because
man about
people
it.
are talking about it, and I'm sure they have questions. So
Yeah, they have questions. They want to know what's going on. Well, we kind of knew what was going on from the beginning. He wasn't getting the ball. And don't be one of these players that always cry for the ball. You got to get your balls. I mean, you didn't become the player you became without getting balls, and Jalen Hurts made you a part of the offense. So come on, man. I mean, I don't know. It's us laymen can't talk about these top tier athletes with so much on the line. It's like we have to keep our opinions to ourselves. And finally, well, the Bengals, Browns, Giants, and Jets. What the hell? Going into the season, we at least had some type of aspirations or expectations for some of these teams, if not all four of them. Man, the Browns, even though they've gotten themselves a win, they also got themselves a loss, and they lost their top running back. I think Jerome Ford is going to be a good replacement, and they just signed Kareem Hunt, as we saw yesterday. But the Bengals, 0-2.
mhm.
Things aren't looking good there. And Joe he's now acknowledging his injury, and that may mean more time off or more bad games if he decides to stay in.
Right, it's unfortunate he sustained that calf injury, and obviously he's not 100%. And they had tough games to start. The Ravens rivalry,
Yeah.
the Browns rivalry, and he's not at his best. So they really couldn't compete. And now they're 0-2. Seems like he's going to miss time. It's going to be tough going for the Browns. I mean, they could be 0-4, 0-5, and it's going to be a rough go of it.
Yeah, the Bengals are gonna
You,
the
you
Bengals
know
have
your
some issues.
your
Yeah,
Jets need a quarterback. The Browns, it's going to depend on Deshaun Watson, does he uh,
not looking
lift
good.
his game? Does he raise the level of his play?
Two
Um,
hundred and thirty million
I
dollars.
thought he'd have a better year this year. It's still early. He could
Mm-hmm.
improve, but first 2 weeks he seems like same Deshaun from last year.
Yeah, $230 million to get what other players just who are doing better than they are.
Yeah, they're making memes that they paid him that much for Baker Mayfield to go to Tampa and play better.
You know what? That's exactly what I was thinking about. Baker Mayfield is playing well right now. I don't know how long that's going to last. We've seen Baker Mayfield become a streaky player at one point before, but I think Baker Mayfield finally has gotten it for some reason. I've never been a huge Baker Mayfield fan, but I've always thought that he was a better talent than he was getting credit for. And I don't think I was really looking for him to live up to that number one pick overall ability, but I thought he would still be a solid quarterback in the NFL. Maybe it starts here. Maybe he's Rich Gannon. Maybe this is his Rich Gannon team, and he does something with it. But then, and now we have the
So
Giants who start off getting blanked 40-0, and then now they're way behind the Arizona Cardinals who were on the clock until the Giants realized they were on the clock. They come back, win the game, but lose Saquon Barkley, and things weren't looking good even against Arizona as they were coming back.
yeah, I was going to say, what were we talking about before the Giants? uh, the
We talk,
Browns?
yeah, we
Was
talk
it
about Baker Mayfield. Oh, before
Baker
the,
Mayfield? Oh yeah, there you go. So yeah, because Tampa played the Bears, and I don't. It's the Bears. They didn't put a lot of pressure on him, but the times they did, he showed some escapability. And on one play, they were pulling him down, and he still kept his eyes up, and he threw a pass and completed the pass. He avoided sacks, and so from that standpoint, I was impressed. It wasn't like oh shit, they got me, and he just went down. He was about making plays, and even though it was against the Bears, he did make plays, even on the few times when they did pressure him.
See, so now we may see some commercials with him inside the big pirate ship. He has the keys. I don't know what the password is going to be, but he has the keys this time, like he had in Cleveland. So, hey, I wouldn't mind seeing Baker Mayfield play better. I mean, I liked him last year for that one game that he did again with the Rams, and they gave him the game ball. He just came in like right off the street, pretty much, and went in there, did his thing, and well,
They
started
should
looking
have had him instead of Mariota or even Cousins for the quarterback show on Netflix.
you know what? He probably would have been a better personality.
That's what I
Mariota
mean.
doesn't come across. I don't know. I haven't seen it yet, so Mariota never came across as
And
that
he went
personality.
AWOL last year too, so he was off from the show last few episodes also.
Oh well. So as it goes, I mean Baker Mayfield, yeah, personality wise, yeah, that's why he gets the commercials. And if he continues to have success, you could expect to see him in more commercials. We might have Baker from State Farm. You never know. Like a good neighbor. Well, that comes to an end right now. Episode number 60. It's been quite some time we've been doing these episodes, and this is week number 3 starting off in the NFL. Next week is a whole new week, and of course, Monday, as you know, all of these games we talked about plus more
We'll
will
come
have
back to recap.
concluded, and we're going to recap those and look forward to the Monday night game. And of course, next week also starts next Wednesday. The boxing coverage. We'll have our panel of people waiting around to talk about Canelo taking on Charlo for the 168-pound super middleweight championship of the world. And we'll have our panel on Wednesday to be able to do that. So until then, I'm Trav. He's biased. Peace.
Have a great weekend.